Vivek Ramaswamy ran for president, and he lost, which wasn't a big surprise to really anyone, and probably wasn't a surprise to him either. And I gotta be honest, I was never particularly impressed with the man. He gave me like a type of fake guru vibe on every topic, where he'd go into a topic with a lot of surface level knowledge, and he'd always go at it from like the alternative perspective. But a lot of times when you do that, you're not just bucking the establishment, you're also sometimes aligning yourself with crackpots. And this would find me finding him repeating just complete nonsense. For example, he was reposting stories about the cartels getting weapons from the Ukrainian government that we sent over to them, which I gotta say, if you're the Mexican cartel, what a roundabout way to get weapons smuggled from America. America's right above you, and you're gonna have it shipped all the way to Ukraine, then buy it from Ukraine, have it shipped all the way back. Pretty roundabout way, but it was all nonsense. And the weapon he said that they had gotten wasn't even the weapon that was in the video that he sent. There's also somebody who wanted to dictate gun control policy, and I thought it was quite embarrassing, and he never retracted it. He might have deleted the tweets much later, but he never retracted the statements, which, you know, I thought somebody with a little bit of a backbone and integrity would do that type of a thing, but whatever. And I can go through a bunch of different instances of Vivek Ramaswamy doing stuff like this or saying stuff like this. Not to mention, like, his plan to solve the war was nonsensical. It was just make a deal with the Russians so to make Russia turn on China. It's not gonna, what would happen is we would give Russia what they wanted, and then they'd be like, cool, and then they'd just keep working with China. He'd get his pockets rolled just like that. This deal maker, this businessman turned politician, which I'm starting to get a little sick of this archetype. Whatever. Now he has a podcast, which I think that's what he wanted from the get-go, to be honest. Did he ever really want to be president? Or did he just want to talk a lot and make money selling supplements? You know, you get the idea. Either way, he has a podcast now, which is, I think, much better suited for him, much worse suited for our ears. And he had an episode with Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter, as someone on Twitter mentioned, and I thought this is the best way of describing her, is like the Michael Jordan of racism. Because the way she does racism is like, bam, it hits you. Bam, it hits you. It rushes at you like Mike Tyson infighting. It just like hits you. And before you know what happened to you, she's already moved on to the next topic. And it's kind of hard to display that skill Ann Coulter has, to kind of just throw that out there so quick and just treat it so casually before moving on, while going on so many mainstream platforms, Fox News very often, but also as kind of the contrarian on MSNBC, CBS, ABC, other outlets as well. Anyway, Vivek Ramaswamy had her on the platform, and she essentially told him straight to his face on his podcast that, man, I agree with you on everything, but you're an Indian, so I'd never vote for you. Listen to this.
And that's why I brought on today somebody who I think has some thoughtful perspectives on the future direction of our country, of our conservative movement.
Some thoughtful perspectives. Oh boy, Vivek, you're going to hear some thoughtful perspectives.
And on this question of nationalism and national identity, somebody I've been fascinated by for a long time and have interacted with on social media, but for the first time we're having at least a live form conversation in the offline sense of it. It's Ann Coulter. So Ann, thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. Thanks for having me. That was a fantastic opening monologue. I too am a fan of yours. So I'm going to make a point of disagreeing with you so that it will be fun. You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black. Can't say that about them.
We haven't even gotten to the point. To be clear, the first 30 seconds was Vivek Ramaswamy praising her for her thoughtfulness, right? Which was the last word I would ever throw at Ann Coulter, is the word thoughtful or thoughtfulness. But that's the word he went with. He was talking about that, these thoughtful ideas that she's going to bring to the table. That's the first 30 seconds. So we're 15 seconds into her statement, and she's already riffing about the non-articulateness of the black community. I can call you articulate. I can't call them articulate. That'd be politically incorrect. She can't help herself. She was introduced as this thoughtful person, and the first thing she did was take the car and swerve it off the road about black people and being articulate. Sorry, just, again, she's the Michael Jordan of racism. Watch how quickly she's going to turn back onto the road and then back off again, doing wheelies and, 360s, making, rubber donuts on the topic of Vivek's race. Just check this out.
That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, that's why.
This was the opening of her to his audience. He introduces her, and the introduction was, she's great, she's fantastic, she's articulate, she's going to bring forward, these thoughtful ideas, it's so great, so fantastic. And then immediately she's like, articulate, haha, black people. Anyway, can I just say, you're an Indian. You're an Indian. So I would have not voted for you, but you were cool outside of that. And that's her opening statement. She could have just opened with, yes, I thought the way you kind of catapulted yourself into national consciousness, it takes a lot of skill and you were able to pull that off, or, yeah, you were able to wiggle your way into the MAGA world, and whatever it could be, whatever compliment she could manifest. And her compliment was basically like, I agree with you on a lot of things, but you're a Native American, not a Native American, sorry. You're an Indian, so it is what it is. Again, Michael Jordan of racism. 30 seconds, she did back-to-back right there. Back-to-back 3-pointers across the halfway across the court, man. My goodness. It's almost impressive. It is impressive. It is impressive. From downtown. Racism was the main reason I thought he wouldn't have a chance. Honestly, I don't know if I would have bet that his race would be the main stopping point, but it is a problem with running as a minority in the Republican Party. Is there's going to be a group of people that just because you're the minority, no matter what, they don't think you should be president. I mean, there's people within the Republican Party that will not vote for a woman. That a woman is too much to handle. Way too much to handle. What's worse, her saying that or Vivek just sitting there and not calling her the C word and a bunch of other things? Well, she said she'd get back to it, so I'm sure they discussed his Indian background at length. In fact, I think he actually put out a tweet about this. Here it is. Ann Coulter told me flat out to my face she couldn't vote for me because you're an Indian, even though she agreed with me more than most other candidates. I disagree with her, but respect she had the guts to speak her mind. It was a riveting hour. The Truth Podcast is back. By the way, can I just say, Truth Podcast, really? 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 The Truth Podcast? Come on. Just the concept, the vague concept, the overarching concept of truth. That's what my podcast is about. If you come here, you only get the truth. A little much, isn't it? But whatever. I love it. She had the guts to speak her mind. This reminds me of the Sneeko stuff from the last debate we watched, when it was Sneeko, Andrew Tate, and all these other people, and Nick Fuentes was in there telling a bunch of Muslims that he doesn't believe that they should be able to run for public office in the United States. And they're all like, so true, best. It feels that cucked. Like, she just said, you're an Indian. I don't care about any of your beliefs. You cannot be president because you are an Indian. And his response is riveting. Riveting. Absolutely riveting. I think she has guts to tell me that I'm an Indian, so I can't be president. Come on.